So today's vlog is going to actually be about a lot of the different things I see coming up on my Facebook. I think I'm going to start doing, I don't know if it's going to be daily or weekly. I don't even know if it'll be timed out that way, but I would like to have it where I have a regular posting on what comes up on my Facebook, because I get a lot of different things, and some of it is just, it's crazy. I'm not talking about the stuff that like my friends put up or anything like that. I mean, they do, but it's usually sharing stories, things that are going on in the world. And there's just some things that I think that maybe we all need to open up and talk about. So yesterday, I don't know if it was just, let's see, yesterday was Wednesday, so I don't think that there's anything particularly special about Wednesday, but it seemed like there was just so much stuff going on, and so I am going to try to find a few things. One of the things that actually had come up was this, it's about food stamps, or the SNAPS program, and some different lawmakers that are trying to adjust and change that and make certain things unavailable to people who have who are on assistance. And I thought I would kind of go over, I think, the pros and the cons. In my opinion, I think I fall somewhere kind of in the middle. I don't come from a really privileged background, so I do know what it's like to have a need in your home. My family never qualified for that particular need. So I understand what people are saying by when your average American household can't afford to necessarily buy some of those things, like the steak, the seafood, the energy drinks, some of the things, sodas, because I didn't come from a privileged background, and we did have to cut down on many of those things. We bought whatever was the necessity. I mean, my mom cooked for a family. We didn't get a lot of junk food. We didn't get sodas and a lot of sweets and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that that was due to was having a tighter budget. And so I kind of go back and forth. We don't want to do things that make people feel like they are different or less than. And so in one way, that kind of does do that by making a person feel like they are less than somebody else. But at the same time, when you have such a huge group of people that are getting into this cycle, and it's just a perpetual cycle of being on the system. And I think we really need to come up with ways and devise ways to get people off of the system. You have a lot of people who just use it on a temporary basis until that they can get back on their feet. And that's really what it is for. It should not be a lifelong program unless you are somebody who is disabled, handicapped, unable to work. You have a situation, a true legitimate situation, that you are unable to get out into the workforce and make things better for you or your family. So with that being said, I completely, fully support senior citizens getting assistance. Actually, coming from the background that I have, my career background, I was in property management for many, many years. And a good chunk of that I was in your upper class communities. And then I had decided that I wanted to move areas. And when I moved to a different county, I had to not be able to be up in my high-rise communities and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that it opened my eyes to was people who were in need and people who were abusing the system. I saw it both, because the community I was at had the housing program, which the majority of those people who were on housing would also qualify for the food stamps, or SNAP program, I think is what it's called now. But what you would see is in the senior citizen group, they wouldn't qualify because they had their Social Security, which was somebody who had worked their whole life and they get this little bitty tiny Social Security amount, and they would literally live on beans. Some of them would buy cat food or dog food, and that's how they survived. There would be some of those senior citizens that could have maybe qualified for a small stipend or small amount, but they were too prideful to go and ask for assistance because they had worked their whole life. They have a sense of taking care of themselves and pride, and they didn't want to go that route. And having the kind of grandma that I had, my grandfather passed away when I was young. My other set of grandparents, they passed away when I was young, so I can only go off of my grandma. She would have never accepted anything like that, no matter what. And fortunately for her, she had many children and many grandchildren who wanted to take care of her and provide for her. But not everybody has that situation. And not everybody has a situation where their children or grandchildren can provide for them. But what's happened, what I saw happen, is generations. You would have grandparent, parent, next generation of the grandchildren already in the system of the Section 8 program, which is the housing program. All of them, so it started with one, and the next group learned, and they had children, maybe young, and then the next set of children was already having their children, and they would get more money from the government based off of how many children they have. Obviously, the more children you have, the more expensive it is. But I really think that we need to revamp our assistance programs to get people off of the system and not enable them, because we need to make sure that the future generations aren't stuck. And that's what we teach them, is that there are no other options. So if we can get the current generation, the current people that are on these programs, to have avenues of education, of child care, things that can help get them into the workforce. I don't know if it's a steady reduction of benefits, that we don't want to put somebody into culture shock or set them up for failure. So obviously, if you're providing all of these things for somebody, and then you take all those things away at one time, they are going to fail. No matter who you are, what situation you put somebody in, they are going to fail. So we need to get people into an education program, especially a lot of the single moms, because they are the ones that have control over the next generation, and those children look to their parents to see, what are you doing? What should I be doing? And this is how we can help them become a better generation coming up, by and through education. I'm not saying the person's going to go and become, the CEO of a big company, but they can get out and get a decent job. They can get out and work, but we need to provide the avenue for that, which is jobs, education, making it so a person who is working, who has children, can work and get an education at the same time. When you are working 40 plus hours in a week, plus trying to go to school, even if it's part-time, even if it's part-time online, and having children, you can only divide yourself out so many different ways and do that effectively. And you have to sleep at some point to be effective in any one of those tasks that you're going to be doing. So how do we do that? We come up with a better plan, and we fight for those plans. I think as Americans, we have gotten to where we just quit fighting for what our country needs, what our people need. We're so busy going out and doing for so many different other places, which I am all for. But our own back door, at our own back door, there are starving people. At our own back door, there are people who are not being taken care of, who aren't educated, who don't have jobs. We need to take care of those people, get everybody to be able to stand up on their own 2 feet, have good, strong shoulders, to be able to provide good, strong shoulders for other people. You can't help somebody walk if you can't walk yourself. So I do think that we're taking a little step in the right direction of limiting some of those benefits, because if a person can't get their favorite items, perhaps they're actually going to start to work. I know that my biggest weakness is Dr. Pepper. I know that sounds just crazy, probably so many people, and if you're from different parts of the country, you don't know what Dr. Pepper is, but it is the best soda in the world. And it's sad that it's not all over the world, but it is the best soda in the world. And I am unfortunately a Dr. Pepper addict, and it bothers me so much when I can't get it. Like when I've gone other places, or even when I have been on a tighter budget and I cut that out, because when you tighten your budget, you get rid of the things that are not a necessity. And Dr. Pepper, although important to me, is not a necessity. My children eating healthy food is a necessity. My children getting a proper education is a necessity. My children being dressed properly for school is a necessity. And them not having Dr. Pepper, or mom not having Dr. Pepper, is not a necessity. And so we need to teach people about what is a necessity and what is not a necessity. I am not saying that I am not frivolous. I have been through all different points of life. I have been where I only bought necessities. I have been kind of the starving student who was determined to do it on my own, and I didn't have to. Now it's funny because I sit and I have conversations with my mom, and I'll tell her about different things, and she'll say, "Michelle, why did you not tell me that was going on then? I would have helped you." I'm like, I know you would have helped me. It was never a matter of I didn't know my mom wouldn't help me. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's why I didn't tell her, because I wanted to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And it's funny because when I talk to my mom about things that when she was taking care of us kids when we were younger, and I hear about some of the sacrifices that she made, I always knew she sacrificed, always. But to what level, I didn't know at that time either. And when she tells me those things, I'm like, Mom, why didn't you tell me? I would have given up this thing or that thing. She's like, I know. I didn't want you to. That's why I didn't tell you. So it's funny, at least I come by it honestly. But I am prideful about that, that I have that thing in me. And I hope that I instill that same thing in my kids, that sometimes you have to sacrifice frivolous things for the important things, and that they can determine what is frivolous and what is important. Because my mom instilled that in me. My grandparents instilled that in my mom. And my dad, unfortunately, I mean, he was raised in the system. He was an orphan. He had awful parents. And he knew how to sacrifice. He knew how to sacrifice through necessity. He knew what it was to starve. He knew what it was to be without. And he knew what it was to provide and how important it was to provide. And it saddens me greatly that he's no longer with us. So a lot of times when you hear me talk about my mom, it's because it's current day. My dad is no longer with us. It's a great loss to the world for me. But he taught me so much also. And that, I think, is the missing link for what is going on in these generations. You see, one of the things, I guess I kind of skipping around, that when I was back in my property management days and I would have these folks that were living on assistance, which again, I think we live in one of the best countries in the world, that we provide for people and that we help people. I think that says so much about us as a people, as a country. It makes me happy. My chest literally bursts with pride when I know that we do this for our people. When I see our American flag, what saddens me is how people have learned to take advantage of this system so greatly that at that time I was a single mom. I'm working my tail off. I was working anywhere from 50 to 60 hours a week, providing daycare, taking care of everything. I had all your normal household bills to provide. I tried to have a nice home that was in a safe neighborhood. It was small, but it was ours. I drove a regular vehicle. I did not go get my nails done. I did not go get my hair done all the time. I did not go shopping at the expensive stores. My child was dressed nicely, but not in name brand, the newest thing all the time. Luckily, she was younger at the time, and she just cared about that she looked cute and felt pretty. So thank goodness for that. And you know, to this day, she is still very, very appreciative about her gifts and clothes, and she does not always care about what's the name brand. Sometimes she does, because there's those social pressures. But really, when I look at it, all of our kids that we have are so good on that they aren't always about, I have to have the latest, the greatest thing. We try to provide for them, but they really don't have that thing in them that they are driven by that. But when I was there, in that time of my life, I would see these people who I knew, because I would see all of their financial records and everything to be able to live at my community. So it was very disheartening to know that you had somebody who got their rent for free, got all their food for free, got their living expenses provided for through TANF. So they would get the money for free, yet they were driving a car that was equal to or nicer than my own. Every time I saw them, their hair was done, like professionally done. Their nails were sculpted and nice and all that, and they had just gotten a fresh pedicure. They were dressing very nice, all name branded clothes, brand new clothes. So where did this money come from? So either they were making money on the side and not reporting it, or they had somebody who was living in the apartment with them that shouldn't have been, who was providing for them. And it was taking advantage of the system. And in turn, I felt like it was personally taking advantage of me too. The reason for that is because I'm busting my butt. I'm having all kinds of taxes taken out of my check. And I can barely afford to pay all of my bills, but I still made it happen. But I could have used some of that money too, that was being taken out of my check, and I felt like was going into that person's pocket, rent, what have you. So I think we do need to have more stringent policies about checking things, following up on these folks who, especially the ones who are on their long term. You've got the people who use the system in the way that it should, which is a leg up to get where they need to be during a rough time. And I commend every single person that goes through that. It's difficult. But the people who just use it, they just have a great life. They're going on vacations. They're doing whatever they're doing. They're teaching their children exactly how to do that. Their children go onto the system, and they end up with generations of this. Well, people are starting to open their eyes. Government institutions are starting to open their eyes. And when the system changes and it locks down, it's going to be a really bad day of reckoning for people who don't know how to get out of the system. So teach your kids. Have some pride. Get out of that cycle. Go to work. Earn your own keep. there is something to be said for that. I really feel like we need to restructure things. We need to make our voices known, what we think. We need to use whatever platforms we have, and that's part of why I decided to start my vlog, which was to at least express my voice. I have no desire to be in politics or anything like that, but I do have a desire to see certain things reformed, and I think we as a society have to let those things be known. So hopefully you will comment and let me know what you think. Good, bad, or otherwise. I know I'm probably going to hear some hateful things, but I think a lot of people feel the same way that I do. So hopefully I will be able to read your feedback, and if there's some suggestions about some other types of subjects you want to talk about, if it's something that I have an opinion on or that I'm educated on, then I will be happy to make a video about it. If not, then I probably will pass, but I will at least try to comment and let you know. I hope everybody has a wonderful day, stay blessed, and try to make a difference. Thanks.